live in Success Academy.
Yeah.
Let me.
Yeah, we're live.
Yeah, I can see it in my page. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Exponential Traction. Just pulling up my monitor here. There it is. JL as well as Cameron. How are you today? Good. Is my audio and video coming in well? Yeah, okay, thank you. Good. Type yes there in the comments box if you're hearing me properly. And welcome to Exponential Traction. And you know what's happening on Fridays, right? We're talking about marketing, we're talking about sales, we're talking about how you can grow your business organically. And we have our resident organic Facebook marketing expert, the Cameron Arshnault. Okay, well done. So before we continue, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Mac Comandante. I'm an international trainer and coach. And over the past 5 years alone, I've coached and trained over 20,000 entrepreneurs, helping them grow their sales by 30% to 300%. And we do that by removing removing constraints towards exponential growth. So how many of you are interested with that? Type interested if you're interested with it. I'm going to go once around the room so that you can introduce yourselves as well. Let's go to Cameron and then invite the next person. Please, brother.
All right. Welcome in, everyone. So excited to have you guys here in our Friday episode of Exponential Traction. My name is Cameron Arshnault, founder of Operation Freedom and creator of the Freedom System, where our goal is simple, is to help new coaches effortlessly launch and scale their coaching programs to make their next 25K effortlessly without ads, right? This is the big thing. I know when a lot of people are starting out is, how can we start to get that initial traction, right? To be able to do that without ads. So we like to use the organic freedom system to help you guys do that. And we have a group up to be able to help people accomplish that goal. So that is for me. How about over to you, Mr. JL?
Hello, good morning, everybody. My name is Gel De Castro. I am an artist and animator, and I try to apply traditional principles onto my digital art and animation. And thank you very much. And we go to the lovely Annie Callis, and she's really got up today.
Thank you, Jill. Hey guys, great to see you, Matt, Cameron. And I'm so excited to be here because I actually could make it. My name is Annie Callis. I'm a relationships architect, and I help couples stay together and build the relationships that they always wanted. And I'm very excited about today's subject. Now, who's left? Matt?
Yeah, well, we're done, but I'm going to turn the floor over to Cameron. Cameron, I like the topic today. What are we going to be talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. So today is going to be all about sales and what are some tips to help you guys be able to get more clients. So for me, over the course of my, sales career, as you guess you could call it, right after doing over $500,000 in sales across Australia, New Zealand, and with my own business around the world, there's kind of some key things that, I've picked up and I want to share with you guys when it comes to sales. Because right, let us know in the comments. Type of me in the comments if you guys have ever been, whether it was intimidated or worried, or maybe just not 100% confident when it comes to selling your program or product or service. A lot of us are not super, when we're first starting out, none of us are really confident. And we need to figure out what are ways that we can develop that confidence to be able to enroll clients in their programs. Because ultimately, if we can't get clients into our programs, we can't, create the change that they want to see in their lives. So what we're going to share with you guys is some of the top tips when it comes to sales, and what are some skills, what are the key skills that you really want to build. And now these are skills that you don't need to right? You don't need to have any kind of special skills in order to be able to develop these. It's just being conscious of these three things that I want to share with you guys today. And obviously, of course, with those of you here to be able to share some of your expertise from your point of view as well. But there's three things specifically that I would like to share with you guys to help you guys be able to overcome that fear of sales and be able to be confident and enroll more clients into your programs.
I love that. And Cameron, I know you're talking about a coaching program, getting them to enroll in the course, but here's what I believe when we talk about the context of sales, and I'm sure that this is also how you're going to be teaching this, is that whatever business you may be in, team, okay, whether you're into traditional sales and so on. I've known Cameron for several years now. The principles that we're going to be talking about would be applicable in whatever business you may be in. Is that right, brother?
Absolutely.
Right. Okay.
Absolutely. Sales is universal. So it's really, and I heard a good description of this recently. When you look at, because even just the word sales sometimes gets people to like tense up and they're like, oh, that seems kind of scary or seems kind of intimidating or sleazy, whatever people's beliefs are about sales. But I heard a definition about sales recently that I really, really enjoyed and really thought it was a great way to reframe it for those of you that are having that kind of hesitation around this idea of sales. And it's really about what sales is inspiring someone to take action to create a better result for themselves. So it doesn't matter what product or services that you guys are selling out there. And whether you guys have a program, whether you have a product, whether you're selling a service, whether or not it's your product or so you're selling someone else's, right? It doesn't matter. Ultimately, what you're doing whenever you are conducting sales is inspiring that other person, the person on the other side of that call, inspiring them to take an action that's going to improve their life.
Awesome. I love that. And what are some of the, yeah, I'm just going to give the floor to you. Okay. And then later on, we'll go once around the room on what's coming up for them. I'm very interested with this because it comes from an experience of being able to sell about $500,000 worth. And how many of you agree with me, team, everyone who's watching this live right now, that if you have a mentor, if you have a coach was able to accomplish that, you're going to learn a thing or two about how to do this, yes? Type yes there in the comments box if you're hearing me right now. Go ahead, I want to know. Okay, I can see you if you're watching this, okay? So don't go lazy on us as we add value to your morning today. Okay, good. Cam, what are some of the challenges that people are experiencing around this to begin with?
Yeah, there are many challenges. It's a topic we could talk about for a long time. And it's one of the ones that actually comes from whenever I was first, was getting into teaching sales to other people. So again, I've not only been able to accomplish that, been grateful to be able to, have that kind of impact myself, but also I've been fortunate to be able to mentor other people when it came to sales. There's one guy in particular that kind of sticks out, and this may be something that resonates with a lot of you guys out there. All right, so this guy's his name was Cody, and he first came into the organization never having done sales in his life. Right, he'd never been a salesperson. He was quite shy. He was quite introverted. He was a little bit, he felt like he wasn't very natural speaking to people. Right, so we had all of these kind of preconceived notions of what it takes to be great at sales, and thought he maybe didn't have what it took to be great at sales, and didn't think that he had the skills required to be great at sales. But what we did is we shared with Cody over the course of the weeks and months that we worked together, right, some of those key principles that we're about to share with you guys right now. And just by doing that, Cody actually went on to be one of the top salespeople in all of New Zealand, which is where we were working with at the time. Right. And I believe at one point held the New Zealand record for sales. And this was someone, again, that had no sales experience, never sold anything in his life, right? Was kind of more socially awkward and didn't like to talk to people that much. But by working on and improving these key skills, was able to go on to become one of the top salespeople for our industry in New Zealand, which is really amazing. And one of the things, again, the reason why I tell that story is because for those of you out here think, to be great at sales, you need to have some kind of, magical abilities. You need to, right, be this really charismatic leader type person, right? And the reality is you don't. The reality is you could be someone who just hasn't had the experience, who's a bit shy, is a bit introverted, but you can still master the key skills that it takes to be successful. And what I want to share with you guys, I know one of the one that I want to share with you guys, because there's three, and they're kind of in order, I guess, in terms of when you're thinking of when you're getting on a call with somebody, right, whether it's over Zoom or a traditional phone call or whatever medium you're using, it doesn't matter. The same principles apply. And the first thing that we need to be conscious of and start to work on improving is what I call asking, right? Asking better questions. So this is the big one, because a lot of people think, right? And again, type a yes in the comments if you guys had this thought that, in order to be great at sales, you need to be this really great presenter, right? Again, whether that's really charismatic or really great storyteller. These are some of the things when we think of, the traditional salesman that you picture, right? This really great storyteller, this really great charismatic character. And ultimately, when you look at, and I think we shared this stat maybe in a different session, but a study done of over 20,000 hours of sales calls showed time and time again the people who were the best at sales were the people who spoke the least. Right? So whenever you're not speaking a lot, what are you doing? You're asking questions. So if you can ask better questions, you're going to get better answers, right? That's what's going to help improve the process. So one of the things is like, well, how can we ask better questions? I just want to give a really simple example. Maybe we can kind of go around it if you guys have any other examples that you guys can think of, but just a really simple one. So picture you're coming home, right, to your wife or your husband or your partner or whatever, your family. You're coming home and they ask you, hey, how's your day? Right? It's a question we've all heard a million times, right? There's no real weight behind it. It's just, what's the answer going to be? It's going to be, oh, it was good. Oh, it sucked. Right? You're not going to get a lot of information there. But picture the same scenario. You come home, right, to, again, your wife, your husband, or partner, or whatever it is, your family. You come home and they say, hey, Annie, how are you feeling today? Right? Again, very similar question in terms of when you look at, what are the questions trying to get at? Very similar, but we asked a better question. So what do you think is going to happen? You're going to get a much better answer, right? That person's going to open up more to you. They're going to tell you more information, which is ultimately what we're going to need in the later steps to be able to effectively get them to say yes to your product, program, service, whatever it is. But by asking better questions, you're going to get much better answers. And that's the first skill that I want to share with you guys. And I don't know if Mac, if you or the team had something that you want to add on to that as being one of the key skills of being really great at sales.
And I love that, Cameron. Actually, earlier today, I was coaching my team with regard to handling objections as we're doing follow-throughs on a program that we've delivered, which had very high engagement rate. Okay, now with a conversion rate of close to 20%. So it was a very good conversion rate, and while doing the program, we can see that people were very engaged. But of course, we know that we have to do some follow through around it. And how you're describing it right now is essentially also what we have, what we did in the role play. As to the questions to which, to the questions that you ask, so that it actually draws out what the objection is. So what I'd like to add to that is that in terms of asking better questions, how many of you would like to know how to ask better questions? Yes, type better in the comments box. Everyone who's listening right now, whether on live, on replay, in the different channels, okay, just type better. Okay. For me, there are two components to creating a good question, Cam. And this would be, number one is to ask the question to which you don't have the answer. Because a lot of people ask, but they are expecting an answer. And that is a pitfall. So whether in sales, in coaching, in conversations, most people ask and they're already preparing the answer to the answer. Okay, so that's the first tip I'd like to give. And the second one is to be really sincere to your clients and your prospects. In our role play this morning, we had to role play because I was noticing that, okay, you know what? When you're saying thank you, it sounded like it is scripted. When you're saying, okay, let me help you, it's sounding like it is a sales pitch. Rather than saying something like, okay, how do you feel about the program? What's happening from your side? What is the challenge that you're really experiencing? Okay, here's what I'm going to do to help you. Let me help you. And really come from a sense of sincerity that you're there for your prospect and your client, not just coming from a script. Okay, is there any challenge that you're experiencing at this point in time? Okay, you said that you're challenged with money, that's why you're not yet enrolling. Let me help you. Okay, so that's me. That's what I'd like to add around in terms of asking question. Okay, let me go to JL.
Thank you. Thank you again. Thank you, Cam. Thank you, Mac. And one of my first thoughts is the word intention, because I remember when I was an advisor, I just noticed what's happening inside me, right? And nowadays, my question is, what's good for the person that's in front of me? Yes. Uh, because one of my mistakes before is that I'm just really after the sale because we got quotas when I was in insurance. And one of the things that happened is that I kept on insisting that they buy the product instead of me understanding if I'm hitting the right problem in the first place. Yeah, and it's and exactly the case with one of my sit downs. When we were traveling and we spent so much money on transportation and the coffee for the client, there is this rise that comes from the salesperson. I need to get the sale, otherwise I won't I won't be able to do this again. And uh, and I didn't understand that this person really is not in a position to buy insurance because he just quit his job. He's starting in another job. He just simply can't afford it. If I were to go back in that time, I would have done it very differently. I would have categorized him as, okay, it's not right for him right now, but maybe I can do something that is of service to him. And reflecting on those experiences, the people who come to me over and over again decide to call me other than other advisors because for some reason I'm on top of mind, and it's not just because I'm a friend or that that I'm a family member. It doesn't even matter. It matters that they found that I'm helpful in a way. And this is kind of like the thing that you taught us, Coach Macna. How you do something is how you do everything. And me, I'm an artist, so I would apply how I do art in also in how I would sell to people or how I would serve other people. That I ask the question, what is good for these people right now? And then I would ask another question is actually it escapes my mind right now, but I'm focusing on just the intention for the other person. And done speaking for now.
To go to Annie. Annie, what are your initial thoughts around this?
Well, as a girl, I'm all about feeling. But I want to, I was sort of thinking there's a few things I'd love to share, but I thought I'll stick to, of course, I'll stick to one thing. But in the past, so there's your men in here, and I just want to share how, as a woman, I was always afraid to ask a man how he feels because men think, men are logical, men are fixing things. And in my communication with men, when I used to say, well, how do you, because it's automatic for me to say how you feel, and they would go, feel? What I think. So I started to make myself smaller. This was years ago. And every time I wanted to ask how a man feels, there'd be the limitation within me. And And it stayed with me subconsciously for a long time until I read an article in LinkedIn about a male coach that went into a boardroom where the CEO actually asked all these men that were at the table, there were like 20 men in there, and he put forward something, and then he said, so what do you all think? Right? And everybody kind of went like that. And they were like, well, we agree with you. So everybody agreed with him, and he was like, sweet, but there were no results. So then the guy went to the coach and said, what's happening? He goes, well, if you put people on a spot to give you the right answer there and then, they won't. He said, next board meeting, ask them how they feel. So the guy was like, what? He goes, no, just do this. So next board meeting, he asked them, so guys, how do you feel about this? And all of a sudden, a conversation has erupted. Everybody brought in their perspective about that thing. And as a group, as a team, they ended up creating something really amazing, then took the business to a different thing. And I think it's so important to put to the side the limitations that were put on us by other people and stick to everybody has a heart, everybody has a feeling, and we need to connect to that. So as you said, Mac, we've got to be sincere, really care about the client, and ask them, how do you feel about this? It's not our answers that they need, we need their answers. But I tell you what, that lesson, that article stayed with me. And since then, I broke through my limiting belief, and I am not afraid to ask a CEO, how do you feel? And usually they go, well, they don't even think about it. And I just went, wow, that one individual back then has created such a blockage for me that I lived into that all my life. So, when you're looking at your results, shift something. So that's how I look at this. What's your guys' take on that? Cameron, what do you think of that?
Yeah, no, I think it's it just, like you said, it just comes down to asking the better question, right? So just reframing that from, what do you think to what do you feel? That's exactly the thing there, right? If you're asking better questions, you're going to get better answers, right? And that's what he said. That's what sparked the discussion. That's what created ultimately the initiative, whatever it was they're creating, that allowed them to kind of have the better result. So that's a perfect example right there of, asking better questions is going to get you better answers. And then, which leads very well, and I think Matt kind of alluded to this, the second point is that, it's all fine and dandy to ask the right questions, but if you don't listen to what the people have to say, right, then it's not going to be useful at all. So yes, we need to ask the right questions, but the next thing is, you need to actually listen. Right? And now it sounds like such a simple, straightforward thing, like, yeah, I can listen. Right. But I want you to really sit with that for a minute, because there's different levels of listening. Right. And a lot of people are really good at like one level of listening, but they're not good at the level of listening that you need to get to in order to be really effective at sales. Because the three levels of listening, one is, right, you just don't listen. Right. That's whenever someone's talking and you just kind of offer in your own little world and you're not paying attention at all. Right. Or you're just, you're kind of got your fingers in your ears and you're really not listening to what the person says, right? So that's the obviously the worst level, or the highest level, or the lowest level, I guess you could say. But the next level up from that is exactly what Max said, right? If you're in your head already, whenever you ask the question, and then before they even respond, you're already thinking in your head, okay, what's the next thing I'm going to say, right? How am I going to respond to that response, right? So if you're in your head, right, all you're doing now is listening to hear, right? You're just listening to wait for the pause so that you can jump back in and say your next thing, right? And then start thinking about, whatever the next thing you have to say after that, right? And, right, this is closer to where we want, because at least we're, showing, kind of looking like we're paying attention, but ultimately we're not. We're inside of our own heads. So the level of listening that you want to get to is listening to understand, right? This is where you suspend your judgments. This is where you suspend your ideas. You don't try to pre-formulate things in your head. You actually take the time to hold space and to listen to what that response is. Because if you asked a good question, you'll be surprised, as I'm sure Annie, maybe you ask those questions to those CEOs, you'd be surprised at the information that people are going to reveal if you actually choose to sit back and truly listen to what they have to say. They'll tell you exactly what you need to know. If you've asked the right question, they'll tell you exactly what you need to know in order to get them to say yes to your offer. All we need to do is to ask the right questions and then to listen to what they actually say in response. And again, this is something that's going to take practice.
Mm.
I know it sounds like a simple skill, but it's probably one of the most, one of the rarest skills when it comes to people doing this really, really effectively. So whenever we're listening, if you find yourself in your own head, right, here's where you need to start to practice to taking a step back and just re-engaging with that person, right, and then just focusing on what they're saying and trying to understand the perspective that they're coming from. Anything you want to add to that, Matt?
Yeah, and a lot of people get this wrong, Cam, that when we talk about really listening, and I've noticed this in a lot of conversations, okay? Because, okay, yeah, I've heard it from a guru to listen, to not interrupt, and so on and so forth. But what happens is that they end up being robotic around it, and they come up with a poker face, okay? That it is just so blank, there's no reaction, and then pretending, or maybe they're doing their hardest to listen by not interrupting. Now, the distinction I'd like to create around what you're trying to teach us, Cam, is when you talk about listening, it's about being engaged while listening. So I just call that engaged listening. Okay, so and what does that mean? It means that you are really there with a person. It means that you're really there, fully present. It means that you are listening with everything that you've got to listen, so that you'd be able to capture it. Okay, not ending up becoming poker faced around it. that's what, that's what I'd like to add, right?
Yeah, and I think a really great example is actually reading a book recently called "Never Split the Difference" by Chris Voss, who was a former FBI negotiator, right? So he was negotiating hostage situations. And one of the things we need to realize is that again, the reason I'm trying to emphasize this is just to emphasize like how important and advanced you can get at listening. Like you said, actually being intent, being present, and actually actively listening, as opposed to again just looking like you're listening. Is in those situations, obviously those are really high stakes to the next level, but ultimately in those hostage situations, they actually have 3 or 4 people all focused on listening to that one voice coming through the other end. So when you understand there's 4 highly trained professionals and their only job is to listen, right? That's how important it is for you guys to listen to your prospects when you're speaking with them.
Yeah, and I want to extend it further, Cam, where why do we even have to listen? Why would that be important, right? Why do we have to be fully engaged? Okay, and for me, it's about you want to make it very easy for the other person to make a decision and actually take action. That's why I like your distinction earlier when you talk about sales. It's about helping others take action so that they can create better results in their lives. So for me, that's why in a sales call, for example, I'm 100% listening because I want to make it easy for you to take action. So let me help you remove those blocks. And I find this very helpful also in negotiation. So back when I was doing my corporate job, okay, I had the opportunity to raise, for example, discount rates of as much as 400%. And I got called by the CFO and he was asking me, Mac, how did you do this? How were you able to raise this by 400%? Back then, I couldn't really explain it, but the truth was that I was simply listening as to what does our business partner really want out of this negotiation? How can I help them make it easy for them so that they actually get what they want? So that's what I'd like to add to that. How about you, Annie, JL? What do you guys think about this?
For me, while you guys were talking, one term that came to mind is reflective listening. So I heard this and everybody just said the formula right there. So reflective listening is really a test that to know that you really are listening to the person. And what that means is, like, if I'm in a conversation with a person, the other person talks and then I respond. It's simply a clarification if I got the thought, if I truly understand. So it's sort of like echoing back the person's internal monologue to them. And you're right, Cameron, it does take a lot of practice. So it's like, I would say, so if I got it right, you mean this, and that means that, and this means that. And if the person says no, that means you haven't gotten it right. So um, for someone to do that, yeah, we really have to be present, like you said, fully engaged, dialed in, plugged in to the other person, outward, not internal, not just listening to what am I going to respond to this, as if you're making a tactic, right? So the imagery I would do is like this, like if I'm cupping the other, making a cup with my hands, and Cameron said it best, creating space or keeping space. It's like I'm receiving the other person. I have to kind of receive everything that he's saying to me or that she's saying to me. And that's when I know if I can reflect it back to them, because I'm searching deeper as to what's going on inside them. And there's a little anecdote about poker face. I was laughing a while ago because I remember talking to a manager, and I was talking to her a little bit long, and then I saw her face kind of droop, right? And it's almost like she remembered that, oh, I have to smile, and she just goes like that. Like, yeah. So the person who's talking can automatically know if I am BSing them or not. So, like you said, Coach Mac, nobody likes to be sold to. And I'd like to confirm with Annie if I got it right about reflective listening in her practice.
I actually don't have names for the way I do things. I mean, there's so many tools and things out there, but it's pretty much just being present. If you're present and you put your listening skills on and you don't make it about yourself, this is not about I have to give the right answer. It's about them giving us the answer to see whether, can we actually help you? Do I have what you need? Right? So, and then listen. That's pretty much it. And sometimes if they say something which you kind of go, I mean, we cannot not have judgment. I mean, that's actually living in a dream. If you say, well, I can't judge, that's a natural human behavior. But when you don't understand something, you go back and you can say, how so? And I do that a lot. They make a statement and I go, great, how so? And then goes back to them. Oh, that sounds great. So what do you mean by that? How is that affecting you? So then again, put it back to them. The answers are inside, right? So then by the time we get to offer something to say, well, I don't know how to do that. Okay, and that's when you go, could I share with you how I can support you in that? And ask permission. When you ask permission, they don't feel that they're backed up against the wall, right? So this is, I think what we're doing here, we're just stacking, as Cameron said, there's key principles, one after the other, but I would say the key, I believe the key is to listen, and then with intention that I want to help you. I know we already know we can help them, right? And then ask the right questions. So that's me. I'm waiting for the next stack, Cameron. I'm taking, look at this.
No, it's awesome. And hopefully for those of you guys listening out there, right, write a yes in the comments. Right? If you guys are getting value, because there's been so many little nuggets and little tips kind of throughout that whole discussion. That's going to help you guys if you can learn to take these on. And now, obviously, again, that's why we need to practice this, because there's so much nuance. There's so many little things that we can do to improve, right? That all of you guys have shared. It's just a matter of, practicing and getting better and being able to take all those little things and start to use them, right? But you're not going to learn everything at once. That's why we want to share with you guys the key principles right? And you guys can keep stacking, keep adding on, and get better and better at this. Because the last thing, and Annie I think said pretty well, is like once we've now listened and truly sat and held space for those people, right, and truly listen to what it is that they need, ask the right questions. The last thing that I want to share with you guys that I found really powerful, and this is one that's this is a really hard transition for some people to make, but it's probably one of the most important transitions that you can make when it comes to explaining what you do. Is because now at this stage, right, we've asked the right questions, we've held space and listened to what their answers are to figure out if and how we can help them best. And the last step is, us, if there's someone we can help, to make our offer to present it. And the hard part for a lot of people is figuring out how to explain that, right? This is the part where people get nervous and they're like, I'm not a salesperson. Like, how do I do that? And what happens? We end up just like rhyming off all of the features of the things that we can help. Like, we're going to help you with this, and then we're going to give you this thing to help out, and you're going to get that. And right, we're just really listing off a lot of the features and all of the things about why our product, why our service, why our program is amazing. And again, this is the hardest thing to realize, right? It's going to sound kind of harsh, but guess what? Your prospects don't care about that. They don't care for 1 second what is involved in your program, what your product is, what your service is. What they truly care about is how is that product or service going to help them get what they want, right? What is the benefits and the results that I am going to get, I being your customer, your client? What are the benefits that I am going to get by using this product or this program or enrolling in this service? So one of the biggest things that we need to understand is talking from a place of benefits. So this is a really quick exercise that you guys can use right now is, first thing, list off what are some of the key features of your program, of your product, of your service. Right, so make a column of those, right? What are the features of your program or service? And then what you want to do is next to each of those, be like, what does this help them achieve? What's the benefit of having that? Right? Why is this important? Those are the kinds of questions you want to ask yourself to dive deeper into why is that feature important? Right? No one cares about this widget, but what does this widget help people do? Right? How does this widget help them save time? How does this widget help them improve their relationship? How does this widget help them, increase their profits by X percent, right? Because those are the results and the benefits people care about. So practice going through this process, right? Maybe multiple times. Maybe you come up with a list of answers and you try it again. Okay, well, why is that important? We keep going deeper to figure out what is the root, what is the root cause? What's the root benefit? What is the real thing that we're trying to get at here? And so going through this exercise is going to help you guys start thinking in terms of benefits as to opposed to features. So when it comes to presenting your offer, you now have probably a big list of the benefits that your product or service offers. And all we're doing now is lining those up with the things that they've told us throughout the conversation. Like, hey, you know how you told me this? Well, this is going to help you actually achieve that. Right? We're just simply lining up those pieces and showing them that they're going to get the benefit and the results that they want. And that's what's going to help you. That's what's going to, make it a no-brainer for them to say yes, because you've covered all of the key things that they told you that they wanted. Right? And by presenting your offer that way, that's how you're going to get more people to say, yes, I want to buy your product. I want to buy your program. I want to buy your service. What do you think, Mac?
I love that. I'll do a temperature check here, everybody who is listening, watching right now. Okay, if this is adding value to you as an entrepreneur, as a salesperson, as a marketer, go ahead, click on that heart icon there right now. So we know that you are listening, okay? So just go ahead, click the heart icon right now. Okay, not the thumbs up. Okay, long press that one and click on the heart icon. Okay, so let me stack up, Cam, with what you're saying and talk about features and focus on benefits, right? And that is a very important piece because a lot of marketers and salespeople actually miss out on one thing, and that is to articulate the benefits. Okay? So, because the truth is that, and here's what I believe around this one, Cam, I don't know what I don't know. So if that applies to me, is it also possible that my clients, my prospects, they also don't know what they don't know? So meaning to say, I may have an idea as to how my product, my service, my course would be able to help them, but they have no idea how that is going to impact to them. I'd like to focus on the impact though. And what does that mean? It's about going deeper beyond the benefits, really understand the consequence once they get the benefit. And what is the impact that will create for them? Okay, I'm going to stop for that right now. Let me go to JL. What do you think?
Actually, I'm thinking of, I'm just imagining a scenario in my head because I remember an insurance person. She, when she's having sales conversations, one of the things that she always says when a person objects to her is, "Okay, no pressure," and then she just stops there. But what I'm realizing with what Cameron is saying, she could actually go deeper in a certain sense, keep her as a lead, but then say, okay, what is it that you are really looking for? What's really important to you? And then that person would, the salesperson would have gotten more information in order to see uh, how her product and services could really benefit them in the future. Those are some of my other thoughts for that. So I'll go to Annie. What do you think?
Yes, it's important to, this is something that I was guilty of. You know, I was so excited about my methodology and look, this is what we're gonna do. And then eventually I started to transfer it into, so I still share how it's going to work. However, I say, so this is why it's good. And what's good about this is that, how do you feel about this? How do you think this will benefit you? So I have a conversation about it all. And then, and majority of people that have signed up with me, they go, oh, we love this. We've never experienced anything like this. But I had to, instead of just telling them, oh, this is what we're going to do, they don't care. And I realized that, and you know, when you're present, you see their facial expression, and you see when they're like, they don't care. And you go, okay, something needs to change here. So, but I really like what you said, Cameron, and it's something that I'm going to do, even though I do it unconsciously with them, but I can just imagine sitting down with the intention and going, okay, that's topic one, what's good about it? And find every single reason what's good about it. And then possibly even start having more questions. That's beneficial for us as the provider of the service, it's even more awareness for ourselves, I would say. So I really like this. So this is really, really great. And I don't care. I don't think it matters what you sell. You do this exercise, I think it's going to really benefit you and grow you. And therefore what you're offering is even more valuable. Yeah, because it comes from within. It's even more knowledge.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's just really, when we look at making offers, all it is just being able to communicate the value, right? So the better we can communicate that, the more valuable your offer seems. Even though the value doesn't change, right? Your offer is still your offer. But if we can communicate that better, then the perceived value of what your prospect sees is going to be way higher. And whenever the value is way higher than the price, it's a no-brainer for them to say yes.
Yeah.
Right. And just like Max said, and one of the things maybe as we kind of start to wrap up for today that I want to leave you guys with is in terms of talk about, taking this deeper, because there's levels again, as you improve, you can kind of get better and better and get deeper into this subject. And that's exactly because Mac kind of alluded to it. We actually have one of the frameworks in our program, right? That's part of the organic Facebook mastery is that it's called the FBE framework. So we talked about features, right? These are the things that are involved in your product or your service or your program, right? So that's the feature list. Then we take that one level deeper, look at, well, what's the benefits of that feature, right? What are the results that come from that specific feature itself, right? So they have the features, they have the benefits, but then if you go one level deeper, right, and this kind of brings it back full circle to what we were talking about earlier, is what are the emotions? Right? Because Annie was saying, I was scared because men are logical and that sort of thing. And I think most of us humans like to think that we're logical, but when it comes to making decisions, nobody's logical. Right? The way people make decisions is they make decisions with emotion and then they justify it with logic. Right? So getting at the actual emotion of why people want to do things, that's what's going to allow people to take action. And then as long as the logic works out, then they're going to stick with that decision. Right? So that's the next level deeper. And again, and quick call it to those of you who are watching, like, is that something that would be of interest to you guys to learn, to go deeper onto this subject? Right deeper in the comments if that's something that you guys would like to dive deeper into, that kind of psychology around sales and some of the more advanced tactics. Right, so right deeper in the comments if that's something, because again, that's something we could go on for a long time, but that's just to show you guys of different levels of experience. And if you guys start on this journey now, you'll be surprised at how much better you get just by being conscious of those things, right? Asking better questions, right? Sitting down before the call and figure out what are ways I can ask, what are questions I can ask, what are ways I can ask these questions that I do now in a better way to elicit a better response from the other party in the conversation. How can I be conscious and maybe you put a sticky note on your computer on your desk, right, to say actively listen, or something to remind you to be present, to actually listen to what they say. And then finally, right, have a list of the benefits with you, right? We actually walk through this with our clients, right? We have like an offer sheet where it breaks down all the specific benefits, right? What are the key things that we help people achieve? So that whenever you're on there for the call, when it comes to actually presenting it, they said all you're doing now is taking what they said and lining it up with the benefits that your product or service provides. Max, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, thank you, Cameron. And as we're reaching the top of the hour, so this would also be my final statement around this. That again, in terms of growing your sales, okay, one of my recent accomplishment is that I've closed about 40,000 in sales over the past couple of months. Yesterday, I closed 2 coaching contracts as well, and they are both high ticket. So as I was reflecting on what you're trying to teach us, Cameron, it really goes with, and hopefully this also stacks up to what you are teaching. And that again, team, when we talk about asking questions, for me, ask the questions to which you don't have the answer. And that's built around the spirit of being sincere, of really asking, of being interested with your clients. Listen and be very engaged with listening. Okay, so that you truly understand what are the challenges that they are going through. That's the reason why I want to listen. Okay, because there's a reason why they're not buying yet, because they haven't hurdled that challenge, whether it's a function of budget, time, or it could be they don't even trust themselves yet. So help them, but you wouldn't be able to catch that if you don't listen. Okay, and finally, the third one would be to articulate. Articulate the impact of the benefits of the features of your product. It would go something like, if I'd be able to help you grow your sales by 30%, would that be worthwhile for you? So yes, so if that is the case, this is how I am going to do that for you. Then I'd go and describe the features. So you see, when you learn that, when I teach that, when you get to apply that to yourself, then you would be able to. And if so, therefore, here is the impact for you. How do you feel about that? Is that something that you would be interested with? Okay, so that's my process. I hope that's also helpful for everybody. Let me go to JL. What are your final thoughts around this?
Yeah. I think I would summarize this conversation through three things. One is get to the core issue. Uh, just driving off of what you said, Coach Mac, that you can only get to the core issue, what's bothering the person, if we just listen and listen deeply, intently, engagedly, and just let it come out from whoever is talking to you. And then second is get rid of the tactics. Now, what I mean by that is, yeah, don't strong arm the sale. And there are many courses out there about how to sell. A lot of them are good stuff. They sound good, and you can apply them. But the important stuff is already there. Just being human. Get rid of the tactics. Be authentically interested, and then just solve the core issue. That's the third. So once you get the problem, just solve it. Just solve it with what you got. And those are my thoughts for today.
Let Oops,
We
sorry.
go to Annie.
Yeah, your final thoughts, please.
My final thoughts is just be present to them because they're scared. And one of the things that works for me is I say to them, I got you, and I actually want to help you. And I've had them, I ask them why you want to go ahead with me, and they go, because you said you want to help me. And I was actually quite surprised, because for me it comes naturally to say that. But then I'm in a very different business from you guys, right? So I'm actually helping human beings and emotions. I deal with emotions all day, every day, right? But just them knowing that there's somebody who says, and I say it authentically, I go, I've got you. And they love that, because they go, okay, thankfully there's somebody who's here for me, right? And that's great. So to me, it's just be you and be very present, and then everything else, copy paste what everybody else said here. Okay, so have a beautiful weekend, everybody. This was a great call. Thank you, guys.
Okay. That's it for today for Exponential Traction Fridays on marketing and sales. I hope that has been helpful for you guys. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye for now, and take care. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Everyone.
Bye bye.